Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the FTD webinar titled, What is PPC? Learn the Basics of Pay-per-Click Marketing. With a combined 45 years of marketing experience, we are excited to welcome today's featured presenters, marketing consultants, Tracy, Oswald, and Keri, Rivera. As a quick housekeeping note, Tracy and Keri will be taking questions throughout the session. If you have a question, simply type it in the chat box in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. All right, let's get started. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much. But 45 years, that makes us sound really old. It looks like we still have people hopping on. We're excited to be here. Before we dive into the meat of why you came, Keri and I want to know, like, what is, when it comes to PPC, when it comes to search engine marketing, what is like the burning question you have that you're hoping that we're going to cover today on the call? Because we want to make sure you get your questions answered. And if we can't do that today, we want to do it in either an FAQ or subsequent session. So give me in the chat, like, what's the question you have on your mind about PPC that you are dying for us to answer? Let's first set the stage. Let's take a look at like how we are spending our time online. And we're going to cover exactly what PPC is. We're going to cover best practices. And I thought, Keri, you could walk us through, look, I know the latest stats say Americans are spending like 5.5 hours on their phones, even more time online in general. Like, what is happening when we're online? What are the three main things that we're doing?
Well, the three main things, you can kind of group it into three buckets. So we've got searching, socializing, and surfing. And if you want to validate this, just think about how you use the internet. So I know that I personally go to the internet when I need to search for something. If I have a specific question, need, or I'm looking for a product or a service, say, I go there to socialize, to check in with my friends and family, see what they're all up to scroll through some Insta, maybe even TikTok. I've done the TikTok. Yeah. And then surfing, sometimes you just kind of get going down one of those rabbit holes and you're looking through something, you're finding content that's interesting to you, something that sparks your interest, or maybe it's related to something that a project that you're doing or an event you have coming up. So these are the three things that we want to think about when you think about the way people use the internet in their daily lives, when you think about the way you use it, and when you think about where you want to be when you're showing up for your customers.
Absolutely. And you mentioned TikTok, and I'm all about TikTok, loving it. Give me a yes in the chat if you have been on TikTok recently. Just curious, want to know. Give me a yes in the chat if you've been on TikTok. Look, I think that's high level on what we're doing online. Let's kind of go down like the funnel, like as if it was a sale, right? Like, let's take a look at what PPC really is. And I know like a lot of you here probably know what pay-per-click advertising is, and some might not. So give us like a standard definition that we can all share as we, sort of work through this together.
Absolutely. Well, and I see that Travis has already asked a question about how to choose the best keywords and structure an ad on Google AdWords. So Travis, you're right in the vein, and we'll talk about some of that during the presentation today. So, but yeah, PPC at its very basic, what it stands for is pay per click advertising. And it does what it says it does. It's an ad that shows up when somebody searches for a topic in a search engine, and you don't pay as the advertiser unless somebody clicks on your ad. So obviously you want to get a click because you want to get a potential customer, and the search engine wants the people to click because if people don't click, they don't get paid. So that's kind of the basic philosophy behind it. You'll also hear it called search engine marketing. So search engines, of course, are Google, Bing, those are kind of the biggest ones. Yahoo is out there. Then there's a bunch of search engines all throughout the web, with, of course, Google being kind of the big player in that field. And sometimes that's just shortened into search marketing. So PPC, pay-per-click, search engine marketing, search marketing are all the same thing to describe that ad that only gets paid for when it's clicked.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, right? And I'm curious, in the audience, who has had experience doing pay-per-click advertising themselves or with a company that did it? I'm just curious to see what the experience level is here in the audience today. When we put in a search or a query or a question into the Google, right? Like, hey, like you could put in what happened at the Oscars last night. Not that we're going to talk about that, but a question like that, right? If there were ads to come up, how do we know? Travis says, yes, I've been doing it myself. Awesome. I wish we could have a side conversation with Travis to dig into the details with him. Like, I'm super geeking out right now. But walk us through how you know where the ads are, because it can get confusing, right? How do we know what's an ad, what's not an ad, what's the difference, and what does it look like when you're on either a phone or an iPad or a desktop?
Absolutely. So these ads are ads that show up after you've created a search, and you're probably familiar with that little bold AD up at the top that signifies that this is a paid placement. Now, search engines didn't always do this. That's kind of something that happened maybe over the last like 5 or 6 years, where they got really transparent about where that click is going to take you, and the fact that it is a paid click. It is somebody vying for your business, vying for your attention. So these typically show up in the top 2 or 3 spaces, as you can see in this example on the right, where we're looking at a florist search term. And then it goes all the way down to the bottom. So it's like the top that most people pay attention to. And then if you scroll down, there's some at the end of the page. And if anybody ever dares to click through to the second page of search engine results, they're there too. So
Absolutely.
That's where the ads are placed.
Lori, I so love your answer. We've had because I don't get it all in capital letters. If you're brave enough, Lori, I would love to explore this just a tiny little bit here with you. Don't feel compelled to answer in the chat, but if you felt like you wanted to, like, what's the biggest part that you don't get, so that we can make sure if we can talk a little bit more about it today, we will, and if we can't, we can see how we can get you that information, because it matters to us. We want to make sure we help you all deliver the very best results. So what's the thing that you don't get? And if anyone else wants to chime in there, like, we would love to know more about what you're struggling with and what you don't understand. Helps us help you so much more. All right, so this is how the ads lay out. When you think about, Travis already brought up, keywords, which is a core component of search ads, as well as the actual ad itself, which is another key component. Can you walk us through in the next slide, high level? We're going to spend a little bit of time here, folks, because like you can see in the circle, there's a lot going on, and we want to give you what's actually important, and we know it can feel overwhelming. So bear with us. Keri does a masterful job at simplifying complex ideas. So she's going to do that. But I want to acknowledge these comments, Keri, here. Jennifer Steele says, "Where to start?" Exclamation point. Totally get it. Lori says, "How to do it. I understand what it is, but massive confusion on how to set it up and behind the scenes." Yeah, it's a full-time job to do in addition to running your business, right? 100% understand. So Keri, give us like the high level of all these particular components so that they can start to feel like they're at least grasping it.
Absolutely. And I think this is the perfect setup for what we're going to talk through. And stick with me for just a few minutes, and you are going to know more than 99.9% of the general population about search ads. Maybe not Travis, because you seem like you already kind of know this and you're already doing some things and clicking things, but it's great to have a curve breaker, and you can talk to your colleagues and tell them what you've learned about it too. So, but yeah, I don't get it. That makes sense. Where to start? Obviously, a big question there, and how to do it. And let me just give you a little secret right here. There's a really good reason that you're not 100% clear on it, because it's a constantly evolving and changing thing. And search engine marketing is very much it's almost like a living, breathing entity, because it depends on humans going in and searching for a term. So we have models and projections and assumptions and some data and some great things that we can use to tailor things. But until you create a new baby campaign and send it out in the world to grow, you're not going to have real data for your website, for your clients, for your zip codes, for your market. So we gather all of these ideas, but then there's an ongoing process of review and evaluation to make sure that that little baby is growing up into a healthy toddler and eventually into a full running adult that can be very competitive and show up everywhere all the time. So with that in mind, how it works. Now, again, this is the magical mystery part. Every single time somebody types in a search term into Google or Bing or one of those other search engines, that publisher does an instantaneous auction. And this auction is done based on who in that area, in that zip code, wants to have their ad show up for that search term or a similar related search term. So these search engines have gotten really amazing at this instantaneous auction, and it's looking at two factors to get you on the list, especially if you want to be up at the top of the list. One factor is how much are you willing to pay to be up high on that list?
Obviously, money talks, right?
Money talks, yeah. And Google, but believe it or not, that's not, I would say that's probably not even the most important factor, because Google knows that it's not going to make a penny if it has a poor end user experience. So the second thing that gets somebody up at the top of that list is something called a quality score. Now, a quality score is something that grows over time because, again, it's using that real live data to feed into your campaign, and it's teaching Google and Bing and all these other search engines that this is a good website to send someone to when they search for these things, because there's bots and eyes on all of this.
So Keri, let me stop you there, because I want to get really, I want to even break it down even more. Have any of you ever done a search for something and you clicked on, one of the listings, whether it was an ad or not, and you went to the website, and when you got there, it was like, had nothing to do with what you asked for? Give me a yes in the chat if that has happened to you. I know it's happened to me a ton. And so, Keri, what you're saying is that Google is taking all of that into consideration. Like if I ask for, if I'm looking for a red car, right? And I type in, I would need a red car. And there's an ad that says, I want to sell you a red car. Not that that's what it would say. And then I click in and the website shows me a blue car. Really bad experience. And that is low quality, correct?
Precisely. And the thing that Google and Bing and Yahoo are watching for is if somebody clicks the ad, but then bounces quickly away from the website, they're like, oh, nope, that wasn't really answering. That wasn't really what the person was looking for. So those are all the things that go into building up the quality score. Now, these search engines aren't 100% transparent about what it is. We have some really great ideas about what it is, and it's things like having a good experience, like Tracy just, described. If you're looking for a red car, it takes you to a page about a red car. Having a website that loads quickly. You have about a fraction of a second to get that information, and with the right data. Now, we've had a shift over the last couple of years where more than 50% of all online traffic happens on mobile devices. So before you do anything in the PPC space, if you're thinking about dipping a toe or thinking about getting in, you want to make sure you have a current, accurate website that is optimized for mobile. And if that is something you do not currently have, there are a bunch of other places that you can direct your marketing dollars that will be more effective for you. But step one, before you start setting up a campaign, get the website straight and get clear on what it is you want to target and go after. So that's step one. And now, if you guys are still with me here, we can talk around the circle, because that gets into some of those best practices.
Yeah,
now,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's go here. We're going to start up at the top of the circle with publishers. Now, I've already mentioned this a couple of times, but publishers are what we call places that publish the searches. So Google, Yahoo, Bing. There's even like a bunch of little things like City Search and Super Pages that are still hanging out there that you would think aren't existent, but they are, and they could still drive leads for your business. So we start with the publishers. So you wanting to start a campaign, decide where you want to go. Now, Google is the biggest and most prolific. It's probably about 70 to 80% of what we're looking at in terms of overall search volume on the internet happens through Google. But because it's the biggest, it's also the most competitive. So it might make sense to look at Yahoo and Bing and some other search engines to balance out your thing and to maybe get an edge up on a thing that your competition might not have thought about getting into. So consider your publishers. Second, you're going to want to look at your keywords. So thinking about the words you want to show up for. Travis, you had mentioned like choosing keywords. Google itself has a lot of really great tools for this with their keyword planner. You don't have to pay anything to access this. You can search for it right now and find it yourself. But it'll say like, hey, based on your website and this area, these are some keywords that you should consider bidding on. And then after you choose your keywords, you need to choose your targeting. And this is again where strategy comes into play. Targeting refers to the geographical area that you want your ad to show up in. So if you only service, or I know I've worked with some franchise groups where you only have certain zip codes that you're servicing, advertise in those zip codes or in that city or whatever makes the most sense. Or you can look at doing a radius. So getting, a radius targeting within your business, or making sure that you're including places that are, perhaps close to a funeral home or other strategic points of interest to ensure that you show up for that. Can we enlarge the diagram? Marisol, I don't know, is there a way to zoom in on that right-hand side perhaps? And I believe we'll be sending this out afterwards as well in case. But you've got, your keywords, you've got your targeting, and then you're going to determine a budget. And now Google and Bing will recommend budgets for your area. Of course, remember that they have, they want to make some money, but they'll also give you a glimpse at what's running and where you need to be bidding on those keywords. So that's why we say bid on a keyword, because you're literally like placing a bid on an auction saying, I am willing to spend up to $2 on this keyword. And that's what that is. Oh, perfect. We've got the PDF in the chat for anyone who'd like to zoom in on that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So that's your budget. And then you're getting into your ad copy. So this is actually writing the ads that are going to get shown. Now, I will say this. You have a fraction of a second to grab someone's attention when you're writing ad copy. Don't try to get creative. Seriously.
Or mysterious, right?
Or mysterious or clue. Like you need to think about the person who has gone so far as to type in a search term. They just want to get boom, straight to the source for what they need. So with your ad copy, another thing that can boost your quality score is making sure you use some of the keywords you're bidding on in your ad copy. So if you're bidding on a keyword like florist near me or florist in Denison, then you want to say, oh, hey, like this, we are a florist in Denison. And that's going to help boost your quality score. So think basic, think succinct and straightforward. But you also want to play with all of the different options that Google and Yahoo give. So you've got your ad copy, then there's things called extensions that you can add on to those. That's like when you see like go here for our menu, go here for flowers you can order. So those things that show up below the ad, those don't cost anything extra. You just have to give the data to the publishers and say, hey, I'd like to run this. And then they'll choose based on quality and timing and how people are searching over time, how much of that real estate you get up in the top of the search results. So I kind of think it's like if you go to a restaurant and you're like, oh, I'd like a burger. Okay, cool. But like you want fries for free? No, thanks. No. I'll take your free fries, please. Like we'll take the free salad bonus add-on here. So that's your ad copy. Keep it basic. And there are some very cool things you can do with ad copy too with dynamic keywords. So this is where you can tell Google and Bing that, hey, instead of me writing a headline, I want you to take that person's search term, the thing they typed in, and make that my headline.
Right, because you can't get more specific than that, right? And you can't get better quality than that because it's exactly what they're asking for.
Exactly. I mean, have you ever had that experience where you type in something and you're like, this is exactly, how did they know? We knew, we did that on purpose. Now you're in, you know the secret, you're in the cool club. So, I mean, fall for it or don't, but now you know what that is when it happens. But it is an effective way of getting people to psychologically look at that in a fraction of a second and say, yes, that is the thing I'm looking for. So all of these are things to keep in mind with your ad copy. Again, keep it basic, keep it keyword dense, Keep it focused and relevant to your what you're searching for and what you're bidding on. Just, yeah, good, solid, basic words for your ad copy. And then the landing page, this specifically talks about the page that somebody's going to land in the website. So again, within that website that is optimized for mobile, you can land people on your home page if they have a general question, or if you have a page specifically for sympathy arrangements, you can have ad copy and an ad group around sympathy arrangements. And I would highly recommend that, because again, that relevance and that lineup boosts your quality score. So we get that all lined up and you send somebody straight to a page for sympathy flowers. That is a fantastic experience for someone who wants to get right to the source.
And can I like pause here just for a quick second? Like, you're just like 60% of the way through the circle, and we're touching the treetops here. So it makes perfect sense, like that Lori and Jennifer are like, where do I even start? You have to do this full time as a job to be able to make get the biggest bang for your buck and drive leads to your website, given all of the factors that are, like you said, changing all the time, and they're so deep and nuanced. It makes sense that, people that don't do this for a living don't get it.
Right. I mean, there's definitely value in working through someone who is in this all the time, because I mean, Tracy, you just touched on the next thing too with reporting, because we're talking about driving leads. So it's, yes, you're going to set up a campaign, you're going to have it running out, you're going to have it gathering people, and maybe you watch this by, oh, my phone's ringing a little more, this or that, but there's so much more behind the scenes. Now, there are a lot of things available through the publishers or through other means where you can get more hands-on with reporting. In fact, there are some systems that will even track back and be able to say, like, this lead came from this advertising at this channel of advertising, because really reporting is where you as a small business owner get to measure your ROI. It is, I think, overlooked sometime, but it's also critical, because otherwise you're just spending money without knowing where it comes back. And one of the beautiful things with a pay-per-click campaign is you can see when those people come back.
Yes.
So that's, the reporting. And then based on the data points that we get, there's something called optimization, which is something that can be done automatically. In fact, Google's really improved a lot of their optimization tools. However, nothing will ever replace the human eye looking at it and saying, okay, so I got a bunch of things. Like, let's pretend you had a nightclub named Twigs across from your store. I'm just coming up with something crazy. And it looks like your phone's ringing off the hook, but everybody's calling to see when Twigs opens. That's the kind of thing you want to keep eyes on with your campaign. So as it's going along, monitoring those results, making sure that you can go in and look at the search terms. And then there's something called a negative keyword that I highly recommend adding negative keywords based on those results once you start to get them in, because you can say, oh yeah, I don't want people who are searching for twigs, because twigs maybe got matched out to branches or flowers or bushes or whatever else that got them into your queue. But that's the kind of quality maintenance that needs to take place with optimization, is reviewing those results and fine tuning what's in the campaign based on those results. And now we're back.
Yeah, that was a masterful explanation in like 5 minutes or less. I think it, and please, questions in the chat. We want to make sure we get to, whether it's today or tomorrow. But the bottom line is that these searches are happening all the time, not only during business hours. So it is critical that if you want leads to your business through the internet, that, oh, by the way, we're spending 5+, 6+ hours a day on, right? You need to be online with great ads, have great reporting so you know what's working, because that's where people are, bottom line, right?
Absolutely. And there's ways to automate responding to clients through automatic responders. So even if your business closes at 5, you want somebody to know that if they submit a form on your website overnight, that they have been heard and that you'll be getting back to them the next day. Often, our research has shown that that's enough to get people to stop looking for the service, and they are ready to do business with you the next day. So lean into those tools to optimize that for yourself.
No, I love it. one last thing that I would love for you to explain, Keri, is keywords. Like Travis asked about it, right? This, I feel like keywords and budget are the thing that I get asked about the most, right? So can you talk to us about the difference between branded keywords and in-market keywords and how we need both in our campaigns to make them work well?
Absolutely. And I know there's a couple of different schools of thought on this, but basically a branded keyword is a keyword that is specifically for your business. So Maria's Florist, Zone 1 Florist, these are your branded keywords. Now, based on our quality score discussion, you can guess how high the quality score is on your branded keywords. It is through the roof because they are people looking for you. So the role that branded keywords play in your campaign, one, it's brand awareness, it's getting your ad to show up and not your competitors when someone's searching for you. But they're also usually really low cost per clicks, like think 25, 50 cents, because Google and Bing know that these are the people searching for you and that your website is the right website. So it's kind of like a buoy in your campaign. It lifts the campaign quality score up, which will help you be more competitive for your in-market keywords. These are the more competitive generic keywords that your undecided clients are searching for. So they are going to cost a little more, and that cost is going to vary by market. In New York, it's going to be way more expensive than it's going to be in Nebraska, just based on population and demand.
That's right.
But it's important to have those in there and to be able to show up for both of those. And they really work well together when you have them both, because the high quality branded ones lift the generic ones.
Absolutely. And I love your analogy of the branded keywords being a buoy in your campaign. That was amazing. We're going to steal it. Keri, bring us home on this last slide here. Tell us how we need to be thinking about what's important to consumers when they're doing a search.
Yeah. Again, when you're thinking about how you want to advertise, think about the way you want businesses to show up when you're thinking about doing business with them. So do you want somebody who has just a single splash page, or maybe just a listing but no website? Or how much do you trust a company that shows up in paid search, organic search, on a map, in a publication, as one of those images that follow you around the internet? I know we'll have those are called display ads, and I'm sure we'll have one of those later. But all of these things are part of your marketing arsenal to put your brand, to put your message front of mind, and be the person that they trust when they find you and when they're in need.
I love it. Now, in the next slide, I think it's important to explain, what could be coming our way here in terms of help, because this is complicated and we want to make sure all of our folks are cared for if they want more information on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the good news is your field account managers have been working on creating some new packages for you guys to simplify some of these things that we've talked about. It's a solution that will take a single budget and push it out across multiple publishers, and then let those real world data points determine who gets what and how much and where. So it's kind of and in addition to that, they work with a team of experts who do this day in and day out, and can set up a campaign based on best practices. And I think you'll find it to be very competitive with what you'd be spending just to do it on your own. So definitely something that the field account manager can run through with you as an option if you're looking for a way to boost your current digital online marketing campaign, or to break into it if you haven't yet.
I love it. And listen, it sounds like if you want more information, reach out to your field account managers. If you have any other questions that you want to get answered, we can potentially take a couple really quick ones now, but please put them in the chat. Even if we don't have time, we will get back to you with those answers, because it's important to us that you get the answers you need. This has been so great, Keri. So much great information.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful. So yeah, go out and delight some customers.
Love it.
All right, ladies, thank you so much. That was a lot of great information. And so we did pop the PDF into the chat, we'll also have it available on the website in our archives, along with the link for the recording, so you can watch it on demand. We just want to thank everybody today for joining us. And that recording will be available on our FTD Mercury Network Florist YouTube channel later this evening. And then for more education programming from FTD, visit ftdi.com to register for those upcoming free webinars and design shows, as well as viewing any of our past education programs on demand. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.